Hey Geek, so on today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. So I'm going to be showing you one of the meals that I absolutely love cooking and definitely enjoy eating. And it's a meal that is completely 100% plant-based. So basically there's no meat in it. And I'm also going to show you how I'm able to do this without even using oil. And so this is my ingredients here. So as you can see right here, these are my main vegetables. And so I have some green, or in this case, yellow pepper, onion, tomato, cilantro, some potatoes here as well. So you definitely want to boil this first. And then I have some other ingredients here. I have some chickpeas, some corn, have some salsa. I really love eating olives, so I'm going to add olives to it. And then I'm going to do all of this in a really nice spinach wrap. And so this is going to be today's video, and the great thing is this is something that's very easy to do, and you could actually make a lot of this for really cheap. So let's go ahead and start cooking. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with cutting the vegetables. I'm not going to be precise about it. I'm just basically going to cut it and into small pieces because we're actually going to mix all of this together in our pan. And so nothing really complicated here. So I'm going to remove this top part and then also remove the seeds from the actual pepper itself. You could keep the seeds if you want, but I would highly advise you not to eat that seed. So I've already taken the seeds out. So let's go ahead and cut it up. And I've already sliced these long ways, and so just to make it shorter, I'm going to just go ahead and chop this up. And if you do have excess vegetables, that's great, because then whenever you do decide to cook this again, you already kind of have your whole prep ready. So you could definitely put that in a container in the fridge, and then you can use the remaining vegetables later. Okay, next up we have our onion. This is a very important ingredient because the onion and tomato will actually be your oil. So instead of using something like olive oil, which you could still use if you decide to cook without oil, then you could use the natural oils from the onions for that. And even though it's not going to be as good in terms of taste and stuff without olive oil, it's still pretty good, and it's something that you get used to at the same time. Now in this case, you can leave it like this if you want, or you could chop it up some more. So whenever you cook everything else with it, when you eat the onions, it's just going to be in smaller pieces. So very simple process. It's the same thing. You cut it long ways and then you cut it shorter. So that's all that is. So now we're going to do the same thing to our tomatoes. Cut it long way, or however you want to cut it, because the tomatoes are going to actually dissolve anyway once you start cooking it. And then here we have our potato. Now I've already cut up my cilantro, but once you get this one done, that's it. And so the reason why I'm using these ingredients is because whenever you are, getting more of your food directly from plants and fruits, you definitely want to substitute some things. So basically your potatoes, your starches, the chickpeas, they're going to basically be your meat. Okay, so this is where you're going to get all your meat related type benefits just by using these. So your proteins and stuff like that. So it's right there. And I'm basically doing the same exact thing. I cut it long ways and then I cut it shorter. Okay, so here are all our main vegetable ingredients all cut up. And as I stated earlier, we're going to be using the onions and tomatoes as our oil. And so these are going to go in first. And then in terms of your other food, which are canned, the chickpeas and the corn, you could drain these out. They do have water in them. But this is going to be really super simple, because now that you have all your main ingredients ready, all you have to do is heat up your pan, put in your ingredients, and just mix it all together. Now these are the vegetables that I use, but you could get really creative. You could put whatever you want. Mushrooms go great with this as well, and also some fresh jalapenos are good as well if you like it a little bit more spicy. So let's go ahead and head over to the stove. For serious YouTubers, check out TubeBuddy, the premier tool news at geekoutdoors.com. Get more done today by checking out the affiliate link in the description area below. Alright, so now I'm here in the stove. There's my ingredients over there. And also in terms of the pan I'm using, this is a non-stick pan. And in terms of the heat I'm going to use like a really, I would say, lower heat. So at least on mine, it's at a 7. So I recommend doing it at a lower heat at first. So then things could just get warmer gradually, and at the same time you don't risk burning everything at once. And here's where it's really important. You're gonna need to add a little bit of water because we are not using any type of oils. The thing that you want to avoid is having your food burn on your pan and damage your pan. And at the same time, once the water goes with the onions and tomatoes, it's going to bring those natural oils out. So let's go ahead and start doing that. Here's my water. I really don't put that much, but you can put as much as you want. And in terms of how long you're going to put these vegetables in here, it really depends on how much you're using, but at least for me, it's normally about 5 minutes. It really depends on how much of the oils that you actually want to come out of it, but at least for me that works because at the end of the day, you're going to be cooking all of this together. And so I would wait about 5 minutes for this to heat up and then start throwing your onions and tomatoes and then the rest of your vegetables in after that. Okay, so I could actually see some heat coming off of the water, so I'm going to go ahead and start dropping in my onions and tomatoes. And you could probably hear that right now. It's sizzling a little bit. And what you're going to do is, you're going to go ahead and stir it around, the pan itself. And just, lightly stir it. And as I stated, it really depends on how much you want this cooked. So at least for me, like I said, I just stir it around for like 5 minutes. You just leave it there if you want. But you're going to be dropping in all the other vegetables anyway. But the whole point of having this in there first, as stated earlier, for about 5 minutes is you want to actually get the oils off of these vegetables first. So that's going to be your oil that you're going to use to cook the rest of your vegetables, or just at least to warm it up. Okay, so my actual onions and tomatoes are softening up. The water's starting to evaporate. So I could actually drop in my other vegetables. And in terms of like which vegetables you could drop in first, you could drop in all of them at the same time. But I'd recommend dropping in the vegetables that are going to be a lot hardier and crunchier first before dropping in your softer vegetables. So then, like if you drop in like really soft vegetables like cut up parsley or herbs, in that case, it might melt. Let's just say that. And so let's go ahead and put in these. And another thing that I really love putting on here are like spices or seasoning. So in this case, I have paprika. I don't know if you can see that. There's paprika, but I also have some curry powder as well. There's also many other types of ingredients you can put in there. So I'm going to go ahead and put in some paprika and also curry powder. So you put in what you like eating and you'll see which one tastes best. But I really love both of these spices. And so I've cooked it just with these ingredients, spices by itself, and then without it. And so this is really awesome. And so I don't even know if that's the correct term. These aren't all spices. So let's just say different ingredients. So those are the ones that I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in all these other vegetables, except for the potatoes. It's a little bit softer. So I'm going to let this cook in here for a little bit, about 5 minutes again. And then I'm going to drop in the potatoes and the beans and the corn. Okay, so those have softened up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in the rest of my ingredients. And about the only thing I'm not going to put in here is the cilantro. Normally with those herbs and stuff, the heat's just going to melt it down like this. I like it more fresh and heartier, but you can drop it in there if you want. So it really depends on what you enjoy. So I'm going to drop my potatoes, my chickpeas, and also my corn. So basically everything. And we just keep stirring this. And even though you might not be able to avoid completely it not sticking, it's definitely not going to stick as bad or worse if you didn't put any type of water or these onions and tomatoes as your natural oils. So let's go ahead and drop in the rest of the ingredients. Okay, so once I have all the ingredients in there, I'm going to go ahead and drop in my paprika and curry powder. Go ahead and drop those in there. And in this case, you can put as much as you want. I absolutely love this. And since I have tasted this before, I know how it's going to taste for me. So at least for me, combining it, it's no issues. And sometimes I also put garlic powder as well. I love eating that stuff. Oh man, and once you have those in there, the smells are just really fantastic. I love the smell of curry. It's one of my favorite foods to eat. So basically, if I could put curry with everything, I would. But it doesn't go too well with cereal. But this is all you have to do. Just mix it around. And if you want to add black pepper or something else, it's really up to you. This is really what I love about this, because it allows you to really tailor the type of meal that you want based upon the things that you like to eat. And this is also a great time to experiment as well. Since you're just like mixing stuff together, sometimes I throw different vegetables in there so I could get more color, some more green peppers, or I'll even try spinach. Well, let's go ahead and put in some spinach in there. That's probably another thing that you can add if you like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get me some spinach as well. Alright, so here's some spinach. I'm just going to drop it in here. Now typically, like I said, I like these soft vegetables on there fresh, However, sometimes it does also taste really good when it's cooked. So spinach is something that I have cooked before on the stove, and it does taste good. So I'm going to mix that in there. And then basically what you're going to do is, once it gets to the point where you feel like, this has a good texture, things are soft for you, then all you have to do is just take this out, and then we're basically going to use the same pan to warm up our wrap. So at least for me, whenever I cook this meal, this is enough for like 3 to 4 meals, depending on how much you want to eat. And this is also great if you have a family, you have kids and you want to make a really quick meal that's healthy and that they could pack with them whenever they go to school. This is excellent. And also at the same time, these ingredients are super cheap and healthy, okay? If you compare this to like, going out and eating every day, or, buying a lot of meats and processed food, it normally costs more than just having vegetables. And so I think this is almost done. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out and put it on a plate, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my wrap on here. Okay, so here I decided to go ahead and put this in a container because I'm going to put my wrap right here, and at the same time I'm going to have more than what I need, so I'm going to save this for later. And your pan, you can lower the heat if you want, but in this case I'm going to leave it at the same heat. And you see that all the food stuck in here, but I'm going to show you an easy way to clean this so that you don't have to scrub this and damage your pan later. So here is my wrap. Just going to put it on here, and I'm going to have a fork nearby so I can flip it over, or you could just give it a little bit more dangerous and flip it with your hand. And so here I'm going to wait until it gets like slightly brown and crispy, and then I'm going to get it done and put it on the plate, and we could finish our wrap. Okay, so all we have to do now is just flip this over, and as you can tell, there's some browning there, and it is getting crispier. Now, if you wanted to, you could also clean the pan first or use a different pan for your wrap. But in this case, I am kind of lazy, so I wanted to keep things simple, so I'm using the same pan, and we should almost be done. Alright, so that's done. So let me show you like the easier way to get this clean, So while it's still heated, all you have to do is get some water and pour it inside here. So here's some water. Okay. And the reason why I do this is, since the pan is already heated, it makes it really easy for you to remove all this food that's stuck on there, versus, like soaking it later and then having to, really get this off, which is going to be harder later on, and you definitely don't want to damage your pan. And so that's all you have to do there, maybe like a minute or two, and as you can see, all the food particles are there on top. And then here I just go ahead and pour this out, and as you can see, it took pretty much all of it off. And you could go ahead and rinse it with some water, and that's it. That's all you really have to do to clean your pan afterwards. Okay, so here it is. Very simple. There's really anything fancy here. So here's my wrap. Now this one, I think I cooked a little bit too long because it's a little bit too crunchy, and so sometimes you don't want it too crunchy because it'll break, but at least for me, it's okay because I do like that. And all I'm going to do is go ahead and put my mix right here, my vegetable mix. There. Okay, and some cilantro. I love some cilantro. And also some olives. I really enjoy eating olives. So this is something that normally people don't put in, but I really do love olives. And then we also have our salsa. Okay, there's some salsa. And there's your wrap. So you could add more stuff on this on top if you wanted to. And also maybe for dessert, I also like to have some fruits and almonds. So I'm gonna add some right here on the side. So there it is. Not the fanciest meal, but it's simple, it's easy to do, it's extremely healthy, and it's very delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a bite into this now. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a bite into this to see how it tastes. I'm gonna say it's gonna be really good. Yeah, it's absolutely delicious. It's definitely a geek's favorite food, at least for this geek. And so that is it for this video. If there are any meals that you like to prepare, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. Or if you had any thoughts on what I did today, I'd like to know your thoughts there as well. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And I'm going to finish eating my plant wrap. And if you're a creative geek like me, and you want to get exclusive access to more content that I don't put out here publicly on my YouTube channel, then join my Gold Content Creators Group, where you're going to get content like this and more for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators Group.